Welcome back, everyone, to Market Conversations. I'm your host, JerryVHall, and tonight we have a special in-studio guest all the way from Tokyo, Japan. That's right. It's our very own Crypto Eddie. Now, I'm excited about tonight's show. This has been an incredible week. If you've been following any of Eddie's videos, her last 5 have just been home runs. Not that all of her stuff isn't wonderful. And I will tell you in all honesty and full disclosure right here, when Eddie makes a video, I watch it. Doesn't matter what's going on. There are 2 people in the entire world that when I get a notification, I go watch, and that's Jungle Inc. and Crypto Eddie. That's not to say there aren't a lot of incredible XRP and cryptocurrency YouTubers out there, because there are. But these 2 folks I've been following since I got here, and you just kind of build a special relationship. And so I have that, and I'm so honored that Eddie is taking her time to join me in studio tonight. So I'm going to take look at the count. We're already up to 20 people. I see that we've got Brady is #1 producer in the world, by the way, backstage working the ones and twos, so to speak. We've got a lot of incredible people popping into the stream. We're going to make sure that we get shout outs to you so you can see them on the screen. Consider yourself welcomed. I'm glad to have you here tonight, folks. I know you have a lot of options to put your eyeballs on, and we're grateful that you've taken time to spend with us right here, right now. So let's get right to it. Pretend I got some really cool graphics and some really cool music interlude. And now let me bring into the studio the one you've all been waiting for, all the way from Tokyo, Japan, Crypto Eddie.
Good morning.
Eddie. Oh, there you go. Good morning. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy to join you. And I like this format, and I don't do live very often. Maybe I can count on one hand the amount of times I've done lives, but I like this format because I can see the comments come up on the screen. I don't have to try to use my phone at the same time. It's very convenient.
Isn't that wonderful? And see, one of the wonderful things about this particular show is that having Brady as the producer, Brady's working all the buttons. Brady's picking out all the comments from the comment field, putting them on screen.
Oh, there's Ray.
He's in the chat. He's saying hello to folks. He's engaging with that audience, and it allows you and I to just kind of focus on what's happening. And when we look at our screen, what Brady puts on the screen, he's letting us know. So Josh Garlinghouse is saying hello. He's saying Eddie's the best. I happen to agree with him on that point.
Yeah, I recognize everybody in the chat so far. It's fun. It's fun to engage live. I just don't do this. I think I've done it 3 other times, and that's it.
Right on. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go through. I've created a couple what we call banners, and they are just basically, oh, hi, Connie. Things that I can put on the screen to show you. And I thought these would be some great topics because they are from this week's Crypto Eddie library. And so here we go. Here's one right here, the SBI Crypto Fund.
Yeah, very, very good news.
Right. And we've got this one. And I'm just going to go through them all right now so you see them, and we'll elaborate further. Remember this one, the biggest deal.
Yeah, that's going to be instrumental. They're all such big deals, actually.
That's what I'm saying. You hit so many home runs this week that not that all your videos aren't good, because they're all very well researched, but there was just some very, what I would consider adoption oriented pieces of news that you brought to the table, which to me was huge.
We're really getting quite far along in this space, aren't we?
Right. Well, which is there one of the 5 that I just showed you between the Swift, the three market makers that were on that panel, the esports announcement, the crypto fund. Which one would you like to tackle first?
Let's just go in order as the way you presented them. That
Okay.
good to me. So the 50%, yeah, the 50% fund. Of course, I'm curious on who the mystery partner is in this deal. I don't think we're going to find out because, yeah, from what I understand, the type of structure that this anonymous partner or secret partner is structured is that they have to remain structured, or they have to remain secret. So I don't think we'll find out who it is. Probably doesn't matter, but it probably is somebody who is big enough, that's my guess, on the fringes of the space, and maybe is taking some precaution not to, yeah, there's some sort of precaution for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why that is. Could be someone from overseas, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone who's domestic here in Japan. So the one thing, though, I think that person brings to the table, of course, is capital, because they are going to commit to an amount. They are protected so that they don't have to worry about losing the agreed upon position that they go in on for the purchase. But also, too, I think what they bring to the table is a way to market this. I think they're going to be instrumental in the way they market the fund. Yeah, so the fact that it's 50% XRP shows me that Mr. Kitao is still very bullish on XRP, because you can't risk your reputation and get your colleagues and other financial players in the space. You can't hurt them financially. If you do, you're going to lose all credibility in the future to bring any sort of capital to the table. So I think the first feeling I had when I saw that he had decided on that, well, actually, he didn't decide. Morningstar has made that as a recommendation, but the Morningstar is a subsidiary of SBI, so it's basically SBI saying that. But the fact that he is going to put 50% XRP, and of course, the fact that he's mining now down in Rockdale, Texas, he wants to also be able to leverage off of that investment. So I'm not surprised that BTC is in there at all. But I guess to get directly to my point, as I said to myself, well, he really believes that there is a future gain in XRP, because he just wouldn't expose his community, his financial community, to a loss. He just wouldn't do it. He just wouldn't do it. That's putting your reputation at stake, you know. So I was really, that was my biggest feeling from seeing that news.
Well, you know what it's, see, for the last week and a half or so, anybody that's watched any of my videos that I do away from the live streams or the interviews, I call Market Insights, I'm pounding this trifecta of investor sentiment, innovation, or the pace of innovation, and then adoption, or the pace of adoption. And how it's very cyclical, and each thing feeds or detracts from the other things. And when I see something like this SBI fund, and especially the way the fund is denominated with its percentages, I think to myself, you know what? I think this speaks to sentiment in Asia more so than anything else. That what we've been hearing when we watch your videos and those occasional Asian tweets that come across my particular feed is that it's very bullish for XRP and the innovations that come with both RippleNet, but also the private sector elements that XRP represents. The person to person, the speed and alacrity in which the asset can go back and forth from you and me, or my business to that business, or this bank to that bank. Asia seems to have a grip on this more so than any other area of the world, it appears.
That's because the cost of remittances is so high, and these are not very liquid corridors. And there are a tremendous amount of immigrant workers that go overseas from the Philippines, from Asia, from Sri Lanka, from India. This is the part of the world that has a lot of brains, and they just don't have the same economic opportunities. So they are individual people making sacrifices to go to other countries to work. And so they really feel the pain when you have the cost of your sending money home taken out nickel and dimed to death. The World Bank says that the cost of remittances around the world is 7.45%. Now, I was just informed from somebody who is really, really smart in this space and often talks to me and kind of puts me back on track. And he says, Eddie, don't be fooled that is a weighted amount, which means that they're taking an average. So in India, remittances are maybe only 1%, but Nigeria, it might be 19%. So what they do is they take the two, add them up, divide by 2, and you get that average amount. So that 7.45%, just so you know, and I was just told this morning, is not really accurate when you talk about the whole globe, but that's still, it's higher than the UN wants it to be, which they want to have a global average down to 3%. So that's one thing, is this is very expensive corridors here in Asia. And then we've got people who really understand what XRP can do, because they are sending money home in billions of dollars every month. And so they get it. I mean, they are not in a position, they're not in the same kind of position that the West is in. So they get it. They see the advantages.
Let's hit a couple of questions from the chat real quick. Brady, can you pop up either that Stackin' Zerps question or the Bill Gould question, and we'll address both. Okay, here we go. So Bill's asking, I'd like to know if there's any news on if or when Japan's XRP volume will be shown.
Well, there's 23 exchanges in Japan, and I think right now only possibly 3 of them are providing APIs to the global trackers. And so that leaves like a lot that are just doing their volume on a very under the table sort of way. But the FSA, the Financial Services Association, which falls under the Ministry of Finance, every quarter they do publish the entire numbers. But unfortunately, all those numbers are condensed into one. We don't know from that big bulk of how many transactions or what the volume of XRP was, which was DMM, which was GMO, which was SBI. But those numbers are there, and they're published quarterly. I have covered them on numerous occasions. So we can see. I can tell you for sure, BitBank, who's really close to my house, like really close to my house, is the number 1 in terms of XRP transactions. Number of transactions. Yeah.
Excellent. Good. Hey, thank you. That was eloquently stated. Let's get to Stackin' Zerps here. We got the news that Japan's CBDC is exciting. Do you know if that will run on the XRP ledger?
No, I doubt it. And they'll probably do, the thing about this is, Japan is very much as I had said, a country that wants to prepare, right? So they are getting everything prepared, ready at the starting gate. So when the gates open, they can go. And they're not, this isn't a kind of like, let's study, let's check it out. Let's do another proof of concept. What they are doing, and they are actually going to do a demonstration test, but they have requirements that they want to ensure. And I think I talked briefly about this. I don't know if I drove my points home all the way, but if they use this in a retail sense, which is the payments for the everyday people, which is what they have in mind. You know, there's the wholesale CBDCs and there's the retail, and sometimes banks talk about doing one and the same. Well, this is one and the same. So if it is going to be used for retail payments for the people living in Japan, they want to be able to be sure that children can use this. And they suggested maybe a terminal, like a terminal setup, so that children,
like an ATM machine type thing.
Yeah, so that children can use this and seniors can use this, because the smartphone is very expensive here, and a lot of seniors still are hanging on to their flip phones. They're not all, they're not all connected when it comes to being able to do those payments. So the government says that they are mandating those two requirements to be tackled. And the other one is that they want it to be able to be used in the case of an emergency like an earthquake, because the last big earthquake we had in March 2011, the whole phone system didn't function. I mean, internet didn't function. The phone, everything just, the infrastructure just collapsed because of the overuse, and because there were power problems, and so this country is very aware of power outages, and the not just the possibility, the inevitableness of it. So I don't know how they're going to solve that, but that's what they're trying to solve right now.
So hang on. Okay, so we're talking about electronic money.
Yeah.
Money that is absolutely 100% dependent upon a network powered by electricity, working in a state of emergency where electricity may or may not be available.
Correct. Because we couldn't use
how do you wrap your mind around that?
Yeah, our phones wouldn't work. I see Ray's question there. Go ahead. Yeah, I have a strong opinion on that. No, there's no way that Ripple's going to IPO this year. No. There's too many uncertainties still in the traditional marketplace. And why would you want to IPO in a time that the market is so fragile? You would not, you've got one shot. And if you commit, although they could commit and then, they could commit and then they could delay, but that doesn't look good. People wonder why did you make all the announcements, get everything intact? But I think that they are working on the backside of they're doing like the Japanese, I think, are 100% prepared to, when the gate opens, they are running, they're running. But I don't think it's going to be this year. We've got too much going on with the economic uncertainties, especially when the fall returns back in the Northern Hemisphere. We have to get through that. We need to see what happens. Yeah.
Interesting. I have my own views on the IPO. And if I was to speculate, which I have done occasionally, I would speculate that there is a divide in, you look at Ripple as an entire entity. It's all the early investors, etc., the actual employees of the company, and then you have the board, right? And the board's job is always to protect and keep the investors' interest intact while there's a progression and growth of the actual company. And I could see where there would be a lot of early investors who've been in, they've been in it for 8 years, saying, hey guys, you're really ready to go to market. And you got the board going, well, there's an element of that that's true. And there's an element of that if we went to market in the wrong environment, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot. And then you've got the folks, the actual employees, going, it doesn't matter to us. We're building. You know what I mean? And we're going to keep building, because they're nowhere near a level of what you would call critical mass.
No,
for the
there's no.
adoption of RippleNet. And so why would you do anything that could stall or impede progress to that goal? The goal is critical mass of your network on the planet exchanging value.
Yeah, they need to light up more corridors. You can't just
Exactly.
you can't go to an IPO and say, well, we've got the Philippines and Mexico that are really liquid. I know there's other corridors like in Australia and in the Euro, but those volumes aren't there. And I think this recent change over to the SMEs, the moving away from the high value, now since they have kind of realigned their focus, that needs to play out. And we have not seen the SMEs play out yet. We really haven't. I mean, they have.
But it's definitely, I can see the fundamental setup for exactly that happening. Let's talk about Currency Cloud. Let's talk about
Let's talk about Currency Cloud. I know they do SMEs, but again, this person who's really working on educating me. There are SME payment services that aggregate all those payments together. It becomes a high value payment. Again, remember, Ashish said they're looking at the low value, high frequency payments, the B2B, the really small individual, not the aggregated amounts. So the big question is, we really need to look much closer at what Currency Cloud, how they are processing those payments. Are they doing it on an aggregated level, or are they doing it on an individual level? That is something I personally, from this morning's conversation that I had with this person, is now what I need to research that. I need to find that out, because I'm not sure yet.
None of us are sure.
Mm-hmm.
And where I was going was, I could see a setup. In other words, I can see the board being placed. I can see the pieces being placed on the board. Doesn't mean the game started, but I see the setup taking place with companies like Currency Cloud. Just this year, there has to be at least 4 companies, solid companies, that are heavily engaged in FX exchange, the Forex markets, that have joined RippleNet. I know for a fact, because I follow Crypto Eddie, that Ripple is looking for a loan department manager, which means they're going to have a loan department, which means what are they going to lend? They don't have money to lend. They have XRP to lend. Who would they lend XRP to? RippleNet participants. I can see the board and the game pieces being laid out. Doesn't mean the whistle is blown and everything is going and we don't need to do any more research. We can just sit back and watch XRP go to the moon. That is not at all what I'm saying. I'm saying I see fundamental structuring of the underpinnings of this market taking place, and I can't help but be excited about that. That's where my statement was going. I'm not saying Currency Cloud is gonna revolutionize everything, and all of a sudden we're gonna quadruple our XRP volume tomorrow. That isn't at all where I'm not. That isn't my
I'm always looking for that. I'm always on the hunt for something that's going to do that for us.
Well, I think there's potential, and I don't think it'll be any one thing. I'll be honest, when I first came to this space, it was like 3 or 4 months into it. I got hip to the SBI stuff because I follow Crypto Eddie. And I thought, okay, that's the ticket. This SBI is going to be the horse that leads all the other horses, right?
I think it's going to be the ticket for Asia, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, the price is 50% of what it was last year at this time. So, how much of these incredible things have affected the market price? None of them. But if you could separate and you can see the forest through the trees, you can see that incredible value is being built almost on a daily basis, it seems like.
Yeah, they've made a lot of progress in the last 6 months. I think that the I think my biggest deep dive that showed me the progress that SBI was making, if everyone remembers, just about, it hasn't been more than 10 days ago, I found the Sri Lankan payments app Ping that has all of the RippleNet money transmitters moving money all through Asia. So to Vietnam and to Thailand, to South Korea. I don't know if anyone saw that, but it was like, that for me was the biggest video in the last 10 days, because now I see the stealth moves that SBI has made through their Cambo or Sri Lankan, from the Sri Lankan or Cambodia, Sri Lankan, from the Sri Lankan point of view, that's very much looking like it's going to be a major hub for those rails throughout Asia. And I really could see how Asia's going, when it gets lit up, and I really wonder if he'll light up all those corridors at once. I mean, maybe it just is an announcement, like South Korea goes live, and then a few weeks later we hear Thailand goes live, and then a few weeks later we hear Vietnam goes live. Or is he just going to literally just, we are live in this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, this quarter? I really wonder.
I had an incredible conversation just earlier tonight, actually, with Jungle Inc., a private conversation on the phone. And it's all about this liquidity issue, right?
Yeah, it comes down to lots of hurdles, but it finally gets down to liquidity at the end. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've played around with on the last, I've done maybe 3 videos that cover touch pieces of this, and that is the Ripple loan department being a key factor in this. The fact that they could actually, with Codius, create what we would call, what are currently being called flash loans. They may have a different name when the term comes to it. It's basically a smart contract that executes every function of the transaction within the smart contract. So it's executed and terminated in one transaction. It's one transaction. And if Ripple, what?
Predetermined, preset.
Correct. And it's a zero-sum contract. So either every transaction element occurs or none of it occurs.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a way to leverage Ripple's quote unquote stack of XRP in corridor creation, because Ripple could literally be the seller and buyer of their own quote unquote flash loans.
Mm. Yeah, I'm very excited. I mean? Yeah, I'm very excited.
Partners,
that is.
The only missing piece to that is the partners that are utilizing this. Would they be utilizing it with lines of credit, collateralized? How would they have their value exchanged with Ripple? Would it be on a credit line and they get reconciled at the end of every month? Would it be like Ripple's the new Fed and they're doing swap lines? I mean, I don't know the inner workings, but I could see where a system like that could work. And now the liquidity that we see, it's no longer an issue. It's a moot point.
Yeah, I just think that, and also too, correct. There's another bit of information I need to research, and that is that some countries, if you are a money transmitter, and even if you utilize the ODL, there are some countries that have laws that still require pre-funding.
Yeah.
So even if you are tapped into ODL, there are some countries that you will still have to, if you're going to operate in that country, you still have to pre-fund. They are local domestic laws within certain countries. So I'm going to work on that too, because I want to see that list of what countries require that pre-funding.
So that was an interesting statement from Select. He's kind of seeing that it's going to take a couple of years before there's like a Cambrian explosion. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think there's a lot of good talking points to slow and steady. I think there are good talking points to there can be a gradual ramp up, and as the world that's already in this space is seeing that ramp up, hoarding effects could kick in from retail elements, from hedge fund and family office elements. I don't know. It's anybody's game.
Yeah. The one thing, though, I think that everybody needs to be aware of is that poor Nagabo is going to be disappointed, because I don't think we're going to see the bank money come as quick as we see the money transmitters and the payment service providers. And that is turning out to be the sweet spot for Ripple. And and until and then what we really need to find out, and I'm just sharing with everybody what's going through my mind right now when I think about doing a new video. I want to know, if we do take the banks out of that equation for volume, what is the volume percentage or dollar amount in that cross-border transaction number that is represented from currently those money transmitters, and how does that going to look in 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? How much of that market share are they going to capture moving forward? And that's a number I really want to see, because we seem to always focus on the 600 billion for cross-border remittances, but I think the fact is the banks are going to be very slow to come to ODL. So I want to take the bank.
And well, I think we've already kind of touched on it. SMEs, I think, will drive that train. So if you're Dole Pineapple, and you have operations in Malaysia, you have operations in Singapore, Latin America, wherever.
Hawaii. That's where they are.
You know what I mean? Well, they're global. I have them right here in Costa Rica. So
big operation.
So they're moving money all around the world. What bank do they use now? And does somebody from their treasury or corporate treasury go, I've been looking into this, boss, and we ought to lean into this Ripple thing, or to this currency cloud thing, or whatever. I could see if the banks start losing their corporate business to these fintechs, right? Some of that may move sentiment, or feet. That fire gets lit under the feet. Things might move a little quicker. We saw how fast Congress moved when Facebook said, "Hey, we're thinking about doing a global currency."
Yeah, I know that makes sense. But also, too, I was told by somebody who really knows that banks hate to do the B2B payments.
Say that again?
Yeah, let that soak in. I was told that the big banks hate to do B2B payments. The SMEs are B2B. You're paying.
No, I understand that. I'm trying to think. Big banks hate making money off of correspondent banking.
No, they hate to do the B2B payments.
It's the same. It's all correspondent. Everything is correspondent banking.
No, they hate dealing with that size of customer.
No, I understand, but there are more of those customers than anything.
Yeah, it's
the largest volume of. It's the largest customer base they got.
Yeah, small business makes the world go round. I understand that.
Exactly.
But I'm just telling you that I was told by someone who I very much trust, the banks don't like to do B2B payments. Sorry, I got Momo behind the computer now.
Momo.
Yeah, they. I think it's just a segment of the market that they don't. The amounts, I think, they feel the amounts are too small. They like to do those big aggregated huge amounts that they can move in one swoop like that, instead of, and so, but this is good for Ripple. This is great for Ripple. This is great. And I think that's why we saw the recent change, is because they have really seen that if they still tried to keep knocking on those banks' doors, and that banks just keep on giving them the polite, yeah, okay, well, check back with us in 6 months, But if they find that the payment service providers and the money transmitters are really the key, and those are the ones that are servicing the SMEs, this model makes a lot of sense. Just, I think people are going to have to get their idea of everybody was always so concerned with, well, how many banks does Ripple have? What banks are using ODL? The point now, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Because if they can get into the money transmitters and the payment service providers, and they find ODL is incredibly valuable, and we've got a level playing field now because Ripple offers them that technology and that solution, and they can aggressively go after the SMEs. Just don't look in the rear view mirror at the banks. That's what I think. And I think everyone needs to realize that the opportunities are just in a new direction. And that's why we saw on June 8th, Ashish put that information out, because I think it's not a pivot. I think XRP was always designed for these low volume, high frequency payments. It was always what it was designed
at this liquidity level. I think it's important to say at this liquidity level.
Okay. And
because it's designed to do anything. If we had a $25 trillion pool of liquidity for XRP, then you could literally say XRP is designed to handle all the money in the world.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it's at this liquidity level, you are absolutely correct.
Yeah. And if we've got market makers that are comfortable in also moving that kind of money, which it looks like B2C2 is one of those that can, from that panel discussion, those guys are moving big amounts of money. I don't know if you listened to the whole thing, but
I did,
yeah.
But you know what? Maybe not everybody in the stream did. We've got 100 people watching us right now. Why don't you recap? Let's summarize the essence of that video again. I thought that was an incredible find on your part, and I just loved your commentary on it, and the fact that you were also able to let us hear from their words when you were playing the clips, so you can get a lot of context from the way somebody says something. I would now let's just turn it over to you. Give us your, from the gut, a recap of that video. That was incredible.
Well, there's so much to chew on that. I'm going to just go to the one most important point. They said that what's going to impact price, and they all agreed, what is going to impact price is when the asset managers come into this space. And those are the wealth managers, the big ones, the real big ones, like BlackRock, etc. There's a list of about 100. And that is when, according to these guys, they believe it will have the impact on price. So right now there's a lot of family offices, and there's Paradigm they mentioned, and the Bailey Fund, and they mentioned, they've got some big names that they are doing trading and OTC for in this space, but they all agreed that it needs to be the asset managers that are doing these big wealth funds, and those wealth funds are tied up in pensions and insurance. And they are still sitting on the sidelines. They're still waiting for proof of concepts to be proven out. And this is June 2019. So you can basically say it was 6 months ago, because we have lost 6 months. I don't think you can talk about January to June this year. It was kind of a lost half of year. So you look at what they were saying basically 6 months ago. They had not really, the smart money, as they called it, it's not dumb money. I took offense to that. The smart money is not in this space yet. They're still waiting to see proven concepts. That's another reason why I don't think Ripple's going to IPO, because I still think they're in that proving phase.
And that could be.
Yeah.
I did, so interesting point. and this is obviously subject to debate, right? But I did some math and I came up with a float of approximately 14 billion XRP floating that isn't locked up with Chris Larson, Arthur Brito, and the escrows, right? And I started to think about this, and I used Tom Lee from Fundstrat. He provided a tool that looks like this. For every 1 billion US dollars that comes into crypto, you can extrapolate out a $25 billion element to the market cap. So if $1 billion of XRP came in tomorrow, it would add 25 billion to XRP's market cap. Same metric can be applied to Bitcoin or ADA or anything. So I started thinking to myself, okay, 14 billion float for XRP would only, I mean, geez, OP, what do you need to gobble that up? Well, you'd need what, 3 billion?
Yeah.
At today's price, you could literally one family office. Warren Buffett could take a little slice of 150 billion that he's got parked in cash and literally obliterate the entire float, take every single XRP off the market. So I think it's interesting to play speculative games, but it's also important to know that at any one time, a major player could absolutely come in and turn this whole thing on its head if they wanted to. That to me is extremely scary and exciting all in the same time.
Yeah, I think they're going to come in more and more, step by step. But I still think we're still correlated to, no matter what people say, this is my opinion, people can disagree with me. Of course, we're correlated to BTC. The whole market is still correlated to BTC. And I think that BTC now is definitely correlated to the traditional market. I don't think.
I agree to that.
It wasn't so correlated 2 years ago, 3 years ago, no, 4 years ago, absolutely not. But in today's world, it's very much correlated. So I think that we need to, some people are hoping, it's funny, I see people on the sidelines kind of hoping for this dollar crash. We don't want to see the dollar crash. And the people are saying that they want to see the traditional stock market crash. You don't want to see that. You don't want to be on that side of the rooting team. You want to see, right now, everything is so correlated. We have to see everybody get healthy and stable. So, yeah.
Exactly. And that's really difficult. One of the things I've been working on for the last few days and really trying to wrap my mind around is price discovery. For many, many, many years, free markets have used a set of tools to discover the true market price of something. And what's been interesting is that as I look at where we are today and see what a bifurcation has happened, this divergence from the traditional free markets that we used to have to this market that seems to have nothing's failing, where we should have tons of companies failing. I mean, you hear about JCPenney and you hear about Nordstrom's, and there are some company, the rental car company, Hertz. But for the most part, that's very few in a sea of many that should be going under, but are not. They're being backstopped by this weird zero interest money. And it used to be interest told you how much money cost. Well, all those metrics are gone because money doesn't cost anything anymore.
Yeah,
it's a really weird world to be in. And I can imagine that people that are trying to wrap their mind around crypto and do price discovery are having the same problem that they're having in the equity markets, because we're in a new world.
It's artificially being propped up right now, but it has to be. And I think also BTC needs to have a little more balance in who's controlling the hash rate power. So the hash power right now is still predominantly out of China, but I'm hopeful that with some of these new mining facilities that are coming online in Texas that we're going to see a little bit more balance from the US and from Japan. And yeah, I think that's going to help too. It'll mitigate some of that risk, because right now there's a lot of risk with BTC when you really look at who's controlling the hash power. It's really interesting. Nobody wants to talk about that on the BTC Maxi side. Nobody wants to talk about that.
Interesting. So, not that it's been publicized yet, but Anthony Pompliano has agreed behind the scenes to do an interview with me.
Oh, good.
And so I would like to be able to reach out to my dear friend Crypto Eddie and put together just, a couple of.
Yeah, I'll help you, but I am his least favorite person. I keep bullying.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We've already agreed that we're not going to agree, but we're going to be respectful, and it'll be like it might be just like a real debate.
Yeah.
And I kind of welcome that, to be honest.
He'll be professional, and he knows
exactly.
He knows how to be polite. The problem I see that he does, though, which I don't like, is he's polite and he toes a line of like he's getting it and he agrees, but then he goes out and says completely something opposite,
He's got a business to protect and a book to, you know what I mean? His Morgan Creek Digital is about the assets they have in their fund. That's their job, is to push that fund, is to get that fund into family offices, to get that fund in front of and purchased by BlackRock. They have to talk their book. They have to. I know. It's mandatory.
Yeah, I hear you. I am enjoying though his he does some of his streams with his new wife. I'm enjoying those more than when he is interviewing. Well, his interviews are good, but I'm really enjoying seeing the two of them work as a couple. It's cute.
It is. I'll tell you something I found interesting about Pomp is that a friend of mine sent me a link to a podcast he did with two comedians that don't know anything about crypto.
Oh, I bet that was funny.
And it was funny.
Yeah.
It was funny. It's Bill Burr, and Burt something, and it's called Bill Burt Podcast, and it's Bill Burt Podcast number 20. And just the fact that these two normal, everyday, funny knuckleheads had Pompliano on to, talk about this. It was just funny, because I honestly believe that if we want to see beyond enterprise grade adoption of any of these technologies, other people that aren't already in the crypto space have to get exposure to it, and they have to have their introduction be, I don't want to say intuitive, but easy. And right now it isn't, but we do have PayID coming. We do have Global ID working on some of these solutions. Some app, we'd say Wind is working on his stuff to try to make it easier for the folks that aren't hardcore knuckleheads like us to be able to kind of go, oh, okay, I get it. That, okay, that wasn't too difficult. That kind of thing.
You got to throw a lot up on, there's an old saying, you throw a lot up on the ceiling and to see what sticks, Not all this is going to stick, but there'll be a few things that do stick, and it'll be instrumental into tapping into that supply, which will have the impact on the demand, which in turn then always affects price. So I'm all for all this. Let's try this. Let's try that. Doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, neither does it bother me. I have to ask you this because I think, well, I know it for sure for me. I can testify to this. And I think that there is a tremendously large percentage of the community that we operate in that this is also present. And that is, how do you remain so positive when the truth is, since February of 2018, this asset has done nothing but month over month lose ground. The price has gone down month over month for the last 2+ years. how do you remain optimistic and optimistic and not like pessimistic?
Well, you have to understand, I was in very early. I already sold everything 100% once with XRP.
Oh. I hope it was in late December or early January of 2018.
It was late November. I'm not a moon girl, no matter what people call me on the thing. I'm not a moon girl. I'm one that's not greedy, and I take my profits when I am feeling, wow, that's better than I could do in the traditional market, or that's better than I could do in real estate. And I never look back and say, I shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, I just don't do that. So I got out, and not of the whole market, but I got totally out of XRP in 2017. And so I'm back in for the second time. The first time was interesting and fun just to see this kind of frenzy that occurred within the retail speculators. I don't think that retail speculation at that sort of fervor is going to come back again right now, unless we have another catalyst, which I could speculate in what another catalyst would be. But the really thing that I understand is that for long-term survival in this space, and I'm not saying anything revolutionary here because everybody knows it. I think that is an XRP holder. Utility is the only thing that is going to give the long-term survivability. And this company, Ripple, who's got really good people in place, they are executing on real utility. So I went through the .com internet boom where they had, 1,000 .coms that didn't have any real utility. Only a few did. And of course, now we know who those few are because they're still with us today. But I think as long, and I tell everybody this, is if I see a warning flag that says, now it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. I'm going to make that known. But as long as I keep seeing the progress is being made and that it is moving towards real utility, it's not hard to be positive. It's not hard at all. And I
love that about you.
I'm also, I also have other, I've got other things in my portfolio that are doing well, and that's exciting too. I mean,
Let's talk about some of those.
Well, Tezos has been one that I let everybody know very early on, like more than a year ago, and that is one that has been very, very fun to see. Yeah, Tezos. And of course, I'm a VeChain. Everyone knows I'm a VeChain holder. I did an interview with Sunny Liu 7 months ago. And so you can imagine I was a little earlier than a lot of the, because I was in already before I did the interview with Sunny. And so, yeah, there's lots of really interesting projects. I love Monero. I'm going to be one of those people who will always tell you that privacy is very, very important for me. So, yeah, I've got some old ones too that I keep hanging on to, like ADA, and it looks like ADA is starting to wake up finally. That's been quite a long haul. I even own TRX. I got totally caught up in the FOMO. You too? Yeah, I totally got caught.
Not TRX. I'll tell you. Okay, so it was December of 2018. I was totally into XRP 100%, and I did some diversification. I got some Cardano and I got some VeChain. They just sat. I never talked about it. Matter of fact, it was almost depressing because they lost value from there. But recently, I can see the way you see. It's like you said, the infrastructure, the actual progress for the protocol, so the actual tech getting solidified, partnerships coming on board, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel for utility for both of both Cardano and for VeChain. And I just go, oh, and what's great is that the market is starting to see that also. And it's the contrary for XRP. Every really good piece of fundamental news for XRP means that XRP is going to go down in price. And I only say that because of correlation, not causation. Every time we get these incredible pieces of news, XRP drops by 0.3. I'm like, what? It makes no sense.
Yeah, the news definitely isn't doing anything for it right now.
Nothing.
I'm always on the hunt for projects, and I, am not afraid to get in and get out, and I'm really happy with, anything. If it's a double-digit gain, 10%, 12%, 15%, I'm thrilled, because you can't get that return anywhere in the world right now.
No, you cannot. I wanted to ask you, I'm looking down at the clock. These are, and I say generally an hour. I'm curious because there's so much engagement in the chat and so many people want to engage. Would you be willing to stay another 10 minutes so we could go, let's say, 10 minutes late, which would give us 14 more minutes or so?
I'm okay. This is my morning time. I just woke up, so and I've got the whole day. I have a totally clear schedule.
All right. So folks, I know we're on a delay, so it's going to take a second to happen. Questions for Crypto Eddie, all the way from Tokyo, Japan. Put them in the chat. Brady will get them up on the screen. What we'll do, we'll spend the rest of the show, Eddie, if we see a thing pop up on the screen, I'm going to immediately shut up and let you address it, because I would like, there we go.
There's no question there.
Okay.
But that's frog in a well, which I love, because that's my favorite saying. That's a Japanese idiom, to be a frog in the well and not be able to see on the outside from your tunnel vision.
Right on, right on. Well, I see my buddy Mel is in the stream. Hey, Mel, he's zero asuka, which is no sugar. Here we go, Ray. Does the average crypto holder need a pay ID?
Well, if you want to be a part of this future possible solution, then yes, everyone should get a pay ID address. I think Matt Hamilton did a video that if you are a little bit on the techie side, you can actually get your pay ID now with hosting it on GitHub. But I think and BitTrue is offering some pay ID addresses now too, right? I think if you want to be
and BitHump,
if you want to be participating in this space to where you are feeling like you're having you are part of the development and the future, then yeah, for sure, I think everyone should participate in pay ID. If you don't care about the ecosystem and you're only focused on something that is like a frog in the well, then maybe you don't care. But I think if you're wanting to create a healthy ecosystem, then everyone should get a pay ID.
Interesting. I see one here from Stack and Zerps. I don't have an answer for that.
Do you guys have an opinion on the S2F model for BTC and the 4-year cycle for the crypto market on a whole? I do, and that would give us a new cycle of high, middle to end of the next year. Yeah, I think this certain cycle that we're in right now is getting this accumulation stage is getting very close to ending. Yeah, I think we're getting really close to ending. Yeah. But of course, the $1 million question is, where does that cycle lead us next? I still think that BTC needs to solve its two things. It needs to solve its alternative to Lightning, and it needs to be more balanced in terms of who has the hash power. And then I think that when we see some changes in those two areas, it's going to be able to break out.
Love it. That is actually, I'm going to come back and watch this. I'm writing this down because that is going to be, I'm going to adjust that with Pump. That is a very well, perfectly articulated, legitimate, logical question.
For people who really know this space, those are two issues.
Yeah.
And they're solvable. Both of them are solvable, but they're not solved yet. Yeah. What do you think about the 83 tons of fake gold discovered? Yeah, right. Do you think it'll be connected to the USG gold-backed currency recently released overseas? Yeah, right. That's wild, huh? It looks like a big fraud. I don't know what to say on that one. I just don't know. It's crazy. What corridor would you be most excited about for XRP to open? Well, I think I told everybody I'm going to open a bottle of Perrier Jouet pink on on the stream live when I see SBI goes live from Japan somewhere. I don't care where. I don't
It doesn't matter.
where. Yeah, I don't care where.
Can I ask your, like, I'm going to give you 3 corridors and tell me what you think would be most likely. The Japanese yen, US dollar, the Japanese yen to euro, or the Japanese yen to the Brazilian real.
That one's bigger. You have to really look at the one to to Brazil is big just because there's a large
Japanese.
there's a large community of people sending money back home to Brazil from Japan. There's about 300,000 Brazilians. But when you look at the Vietnamese, that is the biggest corridor right now. The Vietnam to Japan, in terms of volume, that's the biggest one. Out of Japan right now. That's the biggest one. Japan to the United States is mostly just parents sending money to their kids who are going to school overseas. And
or
then,
B2B.
Yeah.
No.
Well, small B2Bs, maybe not so much.
Well, you got the Japanese automakers are huge in the United States. That's a big.
Those aren't low volume.
Who? Oh, are we only allowed to talk about?
It's what
low dollar amount, high volume corridors.
Well, the SBI is SBI Remit, right? Or underneath other names like Ping and yeah. And so those apps are really geared towards the B2B or P2Ps, and they're low volumes. Yeah, that's the low-hanging fruit right now. That's what's being done. So unfortunately, I think no bank money for a while.
Well, I just saw a question about, I don't think you're a prediction type of person. I don't remember you being much of a prediction person. But if you were to take a stab at XRP at December 25th, 2021, tight range over under.
Well, I would need to ask how many new corridors are open and what corridors are they?
12 new corridors. The corridors are the Japanese yen to the Brazilian real, the Vietnamese baht to the Japanese yen, the US dollar to the Nigerian and Zimbabwe, Basel, Uruguay, Paraguay, Zimbabwe, Costa Rica, of course, and Panama.
I need India in there.
Unfortunately, they're not being very crypto friendly at the moment, but next week they will be. But the week after that, they're not going to be again. So
I need to see some. I need to see some of the real big ones. You know, the top 30.
India monster, isn't it? It seems like it feels like India is a powder keg. I mean, all the internal country infrastructures there, all these incredible companies and a few big ones doing all this business over digital rails already. we know Ripple's in there. We know banks have been working with. I mean, I don't know what the big delay is with India. It seems like it's ready to go.
Yeah, I think we've got a great person, though, who is delicately, nicely pushing, and that's Naveen Gupta. I think he's the perfect guy to get that done. And the recent chat that he was on with Sagar also is really, I think, the right type of personality to push. And I think India is going to come around. I think India is going to come around.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I want to address this question real quick. Oh, are you not finished?
Nope, I'm done.
Okay. Now, I know this is addressed to you, but I can answer this question. Ethereum is so frigging large. There are so many developers developing on Ethereum, and there's some actual enterprise grade Ethereum applications being used. So will it overtake, I mean, will VeChain overtake Ethereum in the next half a year? I think it would take an act of God. God would have to descend down from the heavens, put Sunny Lou on his shoulders, wave his arm, and make everybody put their supply chains on VeChain for VeChain to overtake ETH in the next 6 months.
Ethereum has some real issues. They're delayed, and they have a scalability issue. So
they have all kinds of issues, but they have such. This says 6 months. In a half a year, I don't see VeChain overtaking Ethereum.
I hear you.
Okay.
But VeChain has a solving a problem that is really huge, and they don't have the same kind of issues. I love Ethereum, and I want to see Ethereum successful, but I think Ethereum has to solve their problems because they're not going to be able to grow if they don't solve those problems.
Interesting. I am a huge VeChain bull. Love it. And I'm not really happy the fact that Ethereum has use good language, Jerry, has missed on many targets. Many targets. And it's still the clarity to when 2.0 will come and they will make the conversion to proof of stake. It's still really, nobody knows. Nobody knows. And until it becomes a proof of stake protocol, I don't want to be anywhere near Ethereum.
Yeah,
yes, she does.
Vitalik is amazing, and I think he'll figure out a way to help them get over that hump. I'm optimistic, but I'm disappointed on the delay, like everyone else is.
Right on.
A lot of disappointments with ADA, and it looks like Charles has moved over those. I mean, we're not out of the woods yet with ADA, but it looks very, very close with Shelley.
Well, they just finished their 2-day summit, and at the end of July, the Shelley, well, there's already actual Shelley live nodes working right now, but they're not open to the world.
Right.
The hard fork will happen at the end of July, and it's on like Donkey Kong after that. I mean, it's the live net, and it's let's go. So I'm really excited about that.
Finally, Ethereum 2.0 is a mess. Yeah, it is a mess. Cardano may overtake Ethereum. Yeah, well, when again we get back to real utility solving real problems, and I just don't know. Nobody knows for sure, but we can predict that Ethereum could be overtaken by a couple of different projects.
Agreed. Wow, what this hour plus 10, so this hour and 10 minutes has really flown by.
SBI got into the supply chain tracking. Did you see the announcement? The SBI did the announcement on July 2nd that they have. I
saw it on your channel.
Yeah, they are now.
You announced it.
Yeah, they are now doing blockchain traceability. They're going to do it first with rice, and it's rice that's being exported to the United States, Canada.
Do you know what software they're using for that? or protocol?
I'm gonna guess it's probably R3. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that would be a pretty smart bet because of the whole SBI R3 Asia thing.
Yeah, I tried to see if there was any talk about it on what platform they're
Doesn't
using.
state, they don't get named.
Well, he already, if you look in the presentations, he's already said that he was going to go down that road with R3 like a year ago. He said that, so I think it's R3.
Oh well, I mean, I will never, ever
And yeah,
contradict your because you did the research. I'm just watching your stuff.
Algorand is interesting. You know, I just saw the person that wrote that, Secure Financial Services. Algorand is interesting. Algorand is one of the companies that panel of market makers said that they were sure that particular project was already proven. They called it a proven project. So it's a project I've not done a lot of research on, but I think it's yeah, I think it's doing well.
Right on, right on. So do you want to say your parting shots for the audience? There a lot of people have tuned in and have left some great comments for well, specifically for you.
I don't know if I have any comments. We didn't touch on SBI's esports. I'm not going to go long into that, but the part that is going to be very successful for SBI in that way is to lead in Japan we don't have a leader in Japan for esports. So this is an opportunity waiting to happen, especially when it comes to managing the professional teams and creating a collaboration with the local regional banks. So Mr. Kitao is working on his 4th mega bank concept, right? He has many, many banks that have made investments to be a part of this group of 30-some banks, I think it's 39, that when they combine their forces and rely and tap in on all the AI and technology, money tap, et cetera, that SBI has, they are going to create this 4th mega bank, and they're going to collaborate to bring these local regional banks in as partners for the esports. Yeah. Think about that. Think about that. So that the local banks are going to be part of a sponsor, if you will. Like right now, esports has Red Bull and esports has Mercedes-Benz. But when you actually weave in these regional banks, they become part of the sponsorship. They become part of the money that actually helps that platform build out. And I just think, yeah, the esports, and because nobody owns that space right now in Japan, I think he's going to be very, very successful. And of course, it has a micro economy, and you can plug XRP right in.
Right. Now, hey, so I have a question for you. Have you looked into Twitch, that platform Twitch, where all the gamers are doing all their stuff?
Yes. I've been on Twitch many times.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. The talk about ease of migration. Yeah. That whole environment is already 100% acclimated to digital economies, to digital assets, right, to digital transformation. Talk about a ready-made audience, right? Yeah, and
you give
customers for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
Right.
If you do it right.
Yeah, and Twitch can get like they did a big sporting event in Cologne, Germany, and they had 10 million viewers, 10 million viewers on one event, on one tournament. So, and when you talk about these players who want to trade skins and have a means to actually transact and create payments, they don't have it right now. They have to go outside the environment. Right. They have to go outside in these kind of black market. Not saying that is a bad word, but it's a black market that exists so that they can trade. But if they have something that's legit, and you bring in the banks, you bring in the developers, you bring in the players, You bring in the teams. Oh my gosh. I mean, you've got an economy. That's why everybody talks about it. This is an economy with B's, billions and billions. Not only billions of hours being played a month, but billions of users and billions of money. Amazing. So I'm super excited for the esports. And I'm positive Mr. Kitao is going to plug XRP in when he sees the right angle and the right timing. He's going to plug it in.
I think it's a no-brainer. I believe it's a segment or an industry that's only going to grow. And if you get these folks, you are literally getting clients or customers that you can have for the next 50 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you build the right relationships, it's an incredibly voluptuous, untapped market.
I like this question. Have I ever met Yoshitaka Kitao? I know I have met one of his advisors, and I've met when the WireX card had some SBI employees go into that project. I met with those guys for pizza and beers once, but I'm actually very nervous to meet Mr. Kitao, and I am not one who really wants to do that right now. Someday, possibly. He's very intimidating, and he is very busy. You know, he's got a TV show every Saturday, every other Saturday, every other Sunday night. Yeah, and you know, he's in interviews and presentations and lectures and speaking, and the guy, as Adam Trademan said, when he was asked to take on the SBI Ripple Asia company, and he said, yeah, but I'm already doing the mining in Texas, and I've got the BRD wallet, and he says, Adam, I've got 200 companies. You can do 3. So I love that story that Adam told, because he is at the helm. He's a hands-on guy. He's not a guy that sits up on an ivory tower. He's not. Did you see him in the last presentation? He's there at his desk in the office with the workers working around him. I mean, he's not sitting on an ivory tower. He's a hands-on guy, and he's making the decisions. Of course, he's got good managers in place that are helping him and advising him. Of course. But I know that it's very much a top-down structure. I'm nervous to meet him.
I think you'll do just fine, and I'll bet I just love this about you. The fact that Japanese is not your native language. And I mean, you come from the United States. You were born in the United States. You come from Northern California.
Yeah, I'm a total West Coast girl.
Yeah. And here you are in Tokyo. I mean, I can't say it's similar to my situation, but it's very similar in that I'm in another country that the language is not English. It's Spanish. And you're in a world where it's predominantly Japanese with some other Asian languages mixed in, and probably some English too. But the ability to thrive in an area that really is not designed for you to thrive culturally, it's different. The language barriers, and you've done very well to overcome those barriers. And I just wanted you to know that I think I see that correctly. And I wanted to applaud you for that, because I know it's not easy.
But it's never been difficult for me.
Then I hate you. Then I hate you because it's very difficult for me.
And if I do meet Mr. Kitao, he went to school in England, and I know, and I've heard from other people his English is quite good. So I don't think we're going to have a language barrier at all. Yeah. Well,
you're not fluent in Japanese?
Well, when you talk about, yeah, of course. I mean, what's the degree of fluency? You know, can I tell the cab driver where to go, and can I go go to the doctor. Those are some of the hardest things to do, is go to the doctor and tell a cab driver where to. I mean, we're talking when you have to really give difficult. It's not easy to get in around Tokyo. There's not like these straight streets with lights and you go to this next intersection and then turn left. No, it's not like that. When you get past those two big hurdles, and then the next step is then to be able to participate in like political discussions or philosophical discussions. Maybe then I can do it, but there's still a lot of vocabulary you come across that you're like, what is, I don't really know what that means. I can guess, but yeah, there's still words that vocabulary. This culture has a tremendous amount of vocabulary. Yeah, more than English. English has a huge amount of vocabulary. So let me restate that. It's what we use. We use a small amount of vocabulary in English. Even though we have a lot to choose from, I think what everybody uses on a daily basis is pretty small.
Right on, and I agree. I think this is an incredible way to end the show. This is from Band K Collins. Crypto Eddie, you were the first thing I listened to on the way to work every morning. I respect your analysis and research. You are the best in this space, hands down. Band K, I agree.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, and if I choose not to do this anymore, I need to find somebody else to hand this deep research off to, because I feel
there's a few folks that are doing a good job.
Yeah,
there are. King Solomon's doing his best. I think he's doing a really good job.
Yeah, he's at it again. I like that.
Yeah, he's back on it. Eddie, I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to say thank you so much for coming. If you want to debrief after the show, hang out in the studio. I bring my producer on for his final thoughts, and then we close this thing out.
Yeah, I can say bye, and I'll talk to you soon. And I thank you very much for letting me chit chat, and I look forward to going back and looking at the comments later.
Right on, right on. Ciao. Mr. Brady.
Yes, indeed.
All right, Senor, you've got the floor. Your final thoughts on tonight's stream with the incredible guest, Crypto Eddie.
Sure, no kidding. That was quite the treat. I would say it's the final thought is close to last Friday's final thought, and it's the two market aspect. And I think she just solidified, or I guess the conversation between you two solidified the fact that Pompliano is a businessman just like other businessmen, and they are good at what they do, and that's what they do. And it's interesting to see that from a space of 15-year-olds hanging out in their mom's basements and making millions of dollars randomly. Well, now you have grown-ups in the space, so now you need to figure out how to talk to one another politely. And it's just interesting to see the different amounts of people holding back / no filter. And it's, once again, it's the two market aspect, and we're definitely seeing more knowledge versus more capital. So it'll be an interesting time.
Right on, right on. So folks, that's it for Brady and Jerry. And until next week, Pura Vida.